Nobody expected the Berlin Open to take such a dramatic, chaotic, and completely unexpected turn this week. What was supposed to be a routine week of intense practice and standard court preparation before the main draw matches suddenly transformed into one of the most talked about, controversial storylines in recent tennis history. A sudden wave of high-profile last-minute withdrawals from several top-tier WTA stars forced tournament officials to completely scramble, leading to massive, unexpected changes in the tournament draw. Instead of a smooth transition into the grass court event, the sudden reshuffle created widespread confusion, frustration, and uncertainty across the entire venue. Seatings were abruptly shifted. Vacant spots were hurriedly filled, and players, coaches, and tennis analysts worldwide rushed to social media to decipher exactly how these administrative changes would impact the competition. For many athletes on the tour, a sudden draw reshuffle is just another annoying part of the job, something you deal with, adapt to, and move past. New opponents, altered daily schedules, and unexpected match timings are practically built into the lifestyle of a professional tennis player. However, for the Philippines' rising superstar, Alex Eala, this specific situation appeared to be much more significant than a simple administrative adjustment. When she and her team closely examined the newly updated draw, their attention was immediately drawn to a specific detail that many casual tennis fans had initially overlooked. What seemed like a routine logistical fix quickly transformed into a source of intense, heated discussion among tennis followers around the globe. Within mere hours, speculation began spreading like wildfire across social media platforms. Hardcore tennis fans analyzed every single aspect of the revised Berlin draw, trying to understand the underlying logic behind certain scheduling decisions and debating who stood to benefit the most from these sudden changes. Some online commentators believed the adjustments were completely fair, unavoidable, and standard practice given the chaotic circumstances of multiple player withdrawals. On the flip side, a massive wave of critics openly questioned whether the tournament reshuffle had created an uneven playing field, unfairly disadvantaging certain rising competitors. As the online debates grew increasingly intense, global attention rapidly shifted directly toward Alex Eala and how she would handle the situation. What happened next caught the entire tennis establishment completely by surprise. Rather than remaining totally silent, putting her head down, and focusing solely on her upcoming opening match, Alex chose to address the growing controversy head-on in a way that instantly captured the undivided attention of the sporting world. Her reaction sparked immediate conversations among fans, seasoned analysts, and sports journalists, instantly turning a routine logistical draw update into the absolute biggest headline of the entire tournament. If you look at the situation on the surface, everything looked perfectly normal. Alex Eala was still safely positioned in the bottom half of the match draw, remaining on a clear potential collision course with some of the biggest, most established stars of the WTA Tour. But according to inside reports actively circulating around the tournament grounds, the real problem had absolutely nothing to do with her actual on-court opponents or her mathematical path through the competition. Instead, it was what was happening entirely behind the scenes that reportedly left her and her team feeling incredibly frustrated and let down by the organizers, while tournament officials worked around the clock to manage the operational chaos caused by the sudden player withdrawals. Certain high-profile players were allegedly being granted incredible scheduling stability and premium logistical accommodations to ensure they could prepare for their matches with total peace of mind. However, sources close to the situation claimed that Alex Eala was not receiving anywhere near that same level of professional certainty or respect. Her assigned practice times were reportedly being shifted without any advanced notice. Court availability was being adjusted at the absolute last minute, and the basic preparation routines that most professional athletes take completely for granted suddenly became chaotic, unpredictable, and highly stressful. To a casual observer watching from the outside, these minor logistical disruptions might seem like small inconveniences, but when you are a young athlete trying to compete and survive at the absolute highest level of global sports, every single practice session matters. Every structured warm-up, every minute of baseline drilling, and every bit of mental preparation can make the difference between a historic victory and an early exit. Those close to the situation described a rapidly growing sense of profound disappointment from Eala, who reportedly felt that she was once again being forced to fight through unnecessary administrative challenges and hurdles that her competitors simply did not have to deal with. According to those who have closely followed her inspiring journey, this frustration wasn't just about one single tournament or one isolated scheduling decision in Berlin. It felt like the latest unfair chapter in a long series of systemic setbacks and subtle roadblocks that have continuously tested her patience and resilience over recent months. From unfair tournament wildcard distributions to consistent scheduling disadvantages, several incredibly difficult situations have repeatedly placed her under intense public and mental pressure. For a very long time, Alex consistently chose the high road. She purposely decided not to respond to any of these issues publicly, choosing instead to focus entirely on improving her game, avoiding unnecessary media drama, and handling every single professional challenge with absolute grace, maturity, and textbook professionalism. But this time around, something fundamentally changed. The situation behind the scenes in Berlin had reached a critical tipping point where staying silent was simply no longer an option. When media representatives, international journalists and photographers gathered in the press room for the tournament's standard pre-event press conference, expectations were honestly incredibly low. Most journalists arrived expecting the usual: predictable talking points, routine discussions about grass court conditions, generic answers about upcoming opponents, and standard player quotes about feeling happy to be there. Instead, the entire atmosphere in the room shifted dramatically the exact moment Alex Eala stepped up to the microphones. Her facial expression remained remarkably calm, cool, and collected, but there was an undeniable, intense seriousness in her demeanor that immediately commanded the room. Every reporter in attendance instantly sensed that something incredibly important was about to unfold. The moment she finally began to speak, the entire room fell into a dead, absolute silence. Every television camera instantly locked onto her, and every single journalist leaned in, hanging on her every word. Rather than reading from a script or discussing her first-round match strategy, she bravely addressed the structural concerns that had been building up behind closed doors. She spoke passionately about the fundamental need for fairness, the critical importance of equal treatment for all players regardless of their ranking or nationality, and the immense hidden challenges that rising athletes face when tournament circumstances change overnight. Her powerful, raw comments instantly transformed a completely ordinary, boring press conference into one of the most shocking and talked-about moments of the entire tennis season. The global reaction to her statement was immediate and incredibly polarizing. A massive wave of supporters and tennis purists heavily praised her incredible courage and willingness to speak completely openly about systemic tour issues that many athletes prefer to keep entirely private out of fear of corporate backlash. On the other hand, traditional critics and tournament defenders openly questioned whether the logistical situation truly deserved such a massive level of public scrutiny and attention. But regardless of which side of the debate people stood on, one thing was absolutely undeniable. Alex Eala had successfully captured the undivided attention of the entire sporting world. The conversation surrounding the Berlin Open was no longer about simple tournament withdrawals or technical draw adjustments. It had officially exploded into a much larger, highly critical global discussion about competitive fairness, equal opportunity, and how international players are treated when unexpected organizational situations arise, just when it seemed like her press conference was coming to a natural end in tournament. Officials appeared eager to rush the microphones, a way to move things forward. The palpable tension in the room only grew stronger. Alex simply wasn't ready to stop talking. The deep, systemic questions she had raised on the microphone had not yet been answered, and everyone in attendance knew that this explosive story was far from over. Just when it seemed like her press conference was ending, the palpable tension in the room grew stronger. Tournament officials appeared eager to rush the microphones away, but Alex wasn't ready to stop. The systemic questions she raised remained unanswered, and everyone knew this explosive story was far from over. Instead of walking away quietly, Alex turned directly toward the broadcast cameras to deliver a deeply personal message that instantly resonated with millions globally. While her voice remained steady, every word carried immense emotional weight. She began by thanking her loyal fan base, sending a special shout-out to those who travel massive distances just to watch her compete. Then, she took it a step further, speaking straight from the heart to anyone who has ever felt completely overlooked, underestimated, or treated differently despite working just as hard as everyone else. It wasn't a bitter speech filled with aggressive anger. Instead, it was something far more powerful, inspiring, and culturally significant. As she walked away, the press room remained completely spellbound. Experienced reporters realized they had just witnessed a historic, culture-shifting moment. Within minutes, short video clips began spreading like wildfire across TikTok, X, and YouTube. The viral conversation quickly outgrew the Berlin Open, capturing the attention of mainstream audiences who rarely even watch tennis. Supporters rallied behind the Pinoy star in overwhelming numbers, praising her for standing up for athletes who feel denied equal opportunities. Meanwhile, analysts rushed to evaluate the significance of her words, calling it one of the boldest public statements made by a young player in recent memory. This story is no longer just about brackets or rankings. It is about standing up, making your voice heard, and refusing to stay silent. Now all eyes turn to the court.